So we have two segments now from two cable news stations, CNN and then MSNBC. Here's a pretty shocking piece of video from CNN. First, they go over a timeline of how Kamala's rhetoric about Israel-Gaza has remained exactly the same, despite demands from her base to move left on the issue. And then we hear a pretty fascinating piece of commentary from one of their contributors.
Let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis.
Well, let's
10th.
start with October 7.
10/7
1,200
anniversary.
people were massacred.
A terrorist attack that killed 1,200 innocent people. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself.
I maintain Israel has a right to defend itself.
Israel has a right to defend itself because it is also true far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed.
Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed.
A war that has led to unconscionable suffering of many innocent Palestinians. What we know is that this war must end.
This war has to end.
This moment gives us an opportunity to finally end the war in Gaza.
She would say, and said this week, that is message discipline. But this, for her, is a very important political issue where there is a segment of the Democratic coalition that wants to see actually a change in the rhetoric. They want to see her move in a particular direction. Has she done enough?
I don't think so. And I've been talking to people in the business sector in the Arab American community, and I was really surprised this week to get an earful to hear them say that they would much rather either vote a third party, not vote at all, or vote for Donald Trump. And I'm telling you, it's not obviously a significant sample size, but I cannot find one Arab American within my social circle in business or personally who have said that they will vote for Kamala Harris. When you look at the polling, it seems sort of neck and neck. What they are saying, and this is not a Donald Trump campaign line, that Tiffany Trump's father-in-law, who's a Lebanese businessman, has been successful in kind of converting and talking to people to explain why Trump would be better, even with a Muslim ban, even with everything else that has happened. They feel they do not have any political clout. They don't have any political operation. The only political power they have is their vote, even if it means the rise of Donald Trump.
That's extraordinary.
It is extraordinary. Not one Arab that she could find said they were voting for Kamala Harris. Some said they were voting for a third party. Some said they were voting Trump. And the rationale there is really interesting. The only clout we have is our vote. And so we must deny Kamala Harris our vote. Even if it is for Trump, who would be just as bad on this issue, they feel like if they don't deny the Democrats the vote, they are surrendering what power they have over an ostensibly left party that is supposed to give a damn what they have to say. And there's a reason why they played that timeline. This is their candidate is a robot. Their candidate is non-responsive to anything anyone has to say. The candidate just spits out whatever her advisors put in. And so the only thing they can do is deny Kamala Harris the vote. This next piece of video that I'm going to play is from MSNBC, where they actually talk to a small handful of the Arab voters themselves. Do you have anything to add before we go to that?
Well, this is Nick has been saying this since Abandon Harris made that endorsement, and maybe before, that this is something a lot of constituencies, like the African American community, need to learn. The Democrats, as long as they can take you for granted, they will take you for granted.
Exactly.
Who was it? It was Lawrence O'Donnell. Jimmy always plays that clip.
Yep.
Who said before he got his mind right, yeah, if they know they've got your vote, they don't care.
Exactly.
They don't care. Look at everything they do for suburban Republicans.
Yep.
Oh my God, they'll go so far. Yeah, I mean, I could see abortion limits. I could see where you're coming from on that, man.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
The left. Could we have a public option? Socialist,
Yeah,
communist,
right, yeah,
shut up. Do you want to undermine the party?
Right.
If we go too far left, we lose the suburban Republicans.
Exactly. So here's an MSNBC segment where they actually talk to a few of these Arab voters.
How are you feeling 2.5 weeks out from this election?
Betrayed, second-class citizens. We've been dehumanized. We're, I don't even know if I can use second class. I feel like we're almost third or fourth class citizens now.
This is what we're trying to grapple with as a community of color, as a community that is civically engaged, and a community that's done everything right here in America, right? But we've been told that you don't matter, to the extent that we will continue to shed the blood of your people.
As Arab Americans in this community, as Lebanese Americans now in this community, and you say politicians, which politicians do you blame?
They're the ones that are approving the weapons, the resources to bomb our people back home.
That's MSNBC's edit, not ours. It sounds like she named a name and they cut it out of the report. That's what it sounds like. I mean, she doesn't answer the question there. Did she say Joe Biden or Kamala Harris? Like, it's weird how they would edit. This was pre-taped, obviously, so it wasn't live. So that is a suspicious edit there. But you get where they're going with this pretty quickly.
Although I'm here, I'm an American, I work here, I've had my kids here, my roots are still in Lebanon. I feel like they're turning their back on us. That's my home, my homeland. And they're the ones that are bombing it.
200,000 voters, Jose, Arab American voters in the state of Michigan are at stake. And as we know, it is integral to the election to win that state for both of these candidates. And so they are really kind of vying for these votes. The three individuals that we heard from are likely voting for Jill Stein, a third-party candidate. And I pressed them saying there are many people that will argue and say a vote for Jill Stein in the state of Michigan is, in fact, a vote for Donald Trump. Donald Trump has said repeatedly he will reinstate the Muslim ban. He has said he wants Netanyahu to, quote unquote, finish the job. They say a vote for Jill Stein for the third party is, in fact, a protest vote. And they say that because essentially they want to change the system, that they over and over have been forced to choose the lesser of two evils. And they're done doing that, especially because they feel as if their vote has been taken for granted. And they feel as if they do this protest vote third party, vote for Jill Stein instead of, for instance, for Kamala Harris, as historically the Arab American community has voted for the Democratic candidate. In fact, maybe that will force the system to further bolster a third party candidate. And that is what they, Jose, are voting for in light of being one issue voters. They're voting because of the ongoing war in the Middle East.
So there you go.
Councilman Osugian, thank you so very much. Appreciate it.
So they are voting for Jill Stein as a protest vote in the hopes of changing the system, even if that tips the scale in favor of Donald Trump. They reference specifically Michigan in that report, where there are 200,000 Arab voters. So this rally around Jill Stein in that state particularly is getting a lot of press right now. It's causing the Democrats major headaches. I wish Jill Stein would lean into that more. That's why I asked her that in our interview, and I pressed her slightly when she kind of gave a rebuke of Shamma's very combative strategy of, yes, our goal is to cost Kamala Michigan. But this is the play that voters like that are making. Like people like that whose families are being murdered right now. They have endured a year of literal hell on earth. They are voting for Jill Stein. Abandon Harris has endorsed Jill Stein. And to the extent they feel that's what they have to do, I feel strongly that we should back them in that. And this brings us to something that came up earlier on the stream. We're not going to get too much into this, but Butch Ware fired off a tweet a few days ago where he listed the Uyghurs amongst a group of peoples who he feels have been profoundly wronged. Some people sort of clapped back at him over that. He responded in a way that I would expect an academic to respond, in kind of a snot-nosed way. He ended up talking down to a lot of people, turning off his replies, not wanting to hear from people who had a difference of opinion. I'm not here to defend his conduct. What I'm here to suggest we all do is, in solidarity with those people who we just saw in that report, show up and vote for Jill Stein anyway. Not for Butch Ware, not for Jill Stein, not for the Greens. This is not about Butch Ware. It's not about Jill Stein. It's not about the Greens. And most importantly, it's not about you and it's not about me. This is about showing up for somebody else. This is about showing up for people whose family members are being burned alive, whose family members are being slaughtered, whose families have endured a year of literal hell on earth, if they have endured at all. Let's put everything aside for the next couple weeks and show up for these people. That's what we said we were going to do this year. They were going to come first. They come first. All our other shit comes second. All our other shit comes second. It's not that you don't have a point. You do have a point. It's not that Butch Ware is not an asshole. I'm sure he is. In a few weeks, we're not going to have to hear from Butch Ware anymore. Nobody's going to hear from him after a few weeks. What we got to do on Election Day is show up in solidarity with these people who have suffered enough. They're asking us a very simple favor. Let's all just do it.
Yes. If you've watched the show for a while, you know how hard I've worked to make Dave Chappelle the president. And if I'm willing to set that aside this year to write in Jill Stein in my state where I can't even just vote for her on the ballot, I have to actually write it in. Especially if she's on your ballot, just go ahead and do it.
Right.
We are already, I think, thinking ahead beyond the election. This is what we can do for now. And in a couple of weeks, it's over. Were you talking about the Green Party between 2020 and now?
Right.
You're not going to be talking about it in December, man. It's not worth having these kinds of internecine fights over this. And honestly, it's a problem that the left has in general. It's a cliche of the left. I think it's exacerbated by the social media platforms and the algorithms. But it's a cliche that you get a bunch of leftists and they all start fighting over doctrine, and they have a tendency towards purity displays and beating their chest. Okay, that you're not going to beat the fascist takeover that is gradually creeping up and sweeping over America, as many of our communist friends say is the inevitable outcome of a collapse or crisis in capitalism. That ultimately, when you see that, you're going to see fascism. You want to coordinate a left response to that? Shit's got to stop. You got to be able to be tactical. It doesn't mean, as Keaton points out, doesn't mean that you're wrong. You're right, in our opinion. Does it matter right now? Like tactically right now, in terms of what we're doing to support this community, as small as it is. I wish we could do more. It's a paltry gesture, but it's what we can do. It's a very small lift that they're asking.
Please clap.